Meet my special guest in 10 seconds.
Happy hobby.
This is David Gonis once again. If you collect sports cards and you're on a limited budget, this is the Sports Card YouTube channel for you. Make sure you hit subscribe. Today, though, it's not about the budgeted sports card collection. We have Dave Richard in the house from CBSSports.com. I used to work with Dave a long time ago. How you doing, Dave?
David, I'm doing great. It is really an honor to be here. We've known each other a long time. I am so happy that you've started this YouTube channel, not just on a personal level because we're friends and I love seeing you do what you do, but also because you've really created a space for people who are on a limited budget with their sports cards. And it's not all about the nosebleeds. And this is going to sound silly because of what we're going to do later, but it's not about the one-of-ones. It's not about the limited edition print runs. It's not about the refractors. It's about just having fun. And that's a big part of why I love fantasy football. It's fun. And it's also why I love sports cards too. So I'm really glad that you're doing this, and it's an honor for me to be here with you.
Wow, I very much appreciate that. That was really nice. I wasn't expecting that. I appreciate that. Now, I'm, like you said, there's a space for the limited budget guys, and that's kind of like me, just the cards that I grew up collecting. But you, sir, you have quite the background in card collecting. And I remember when we worked together. So in the mid-2000s, we had like a 5-year run, Dave and I. He's still there at CBSSports.com, one of the lead fantasy football writers. But back then, we had both just kind of, you were at NFL.com, and I had just joined in 2003. So, but we both got to know each other. And I remember back then you talking about your card collection. And I had mine up there. I remember that's what kind of got you talking about it. But give us share a little background, just give us a taste, because we're going to eventually do an interview on your own without doing the Guess That Grade game show where you talk more about your background. But let us know how you got into sports card collecting.
Growing up as an 80s kid, my grandparents or my parents bought me baseball cards. I remember getting my first taste of 84 Topps back in the day. And as soon as I was an only child. So as soon as I told my parents and my grandparents, hey, I like these baseball cards, here came a bunch more baseball cards and a baseball card collector case and all this stuff. And I didn't care about condition. I didn't know anything about rookies. I didn't know anything about anybody. And I would just open up. I'd get like 1 or 2 packs every once in a while, and I'd collect the cards. And when I was in, I don't know how old I was. Maybe it was like right around somewhere between 10 and 13 years old. I can tell you when it was. It was anywhere between 86 and 89. So yeah, 10 and 13 years old. Me and all my buddies would collect different players. Some friends collected, White Sox players. I grew up in Chicago, Cubs players. Yeah. My best friend collected Will Clark. I collected Mark McGwire. So I had a ton of Mark McGwire cards. And I collected Roger Clemens. And I had a ton of Roger Clemens cards. Nice. So it was fun to go to cards.
You have family from Texas, so Clemens makes
sense.
Yeah,
that's true. And that ties in with Clemens. Yeah. When did I start getting into more expensive cards? I kind of quit right around, I'd say maybe around 91, because I was becoming like, I don't know about 91, because I said 93.
I get it. I understand.
But long story short, like you told me to keep it brief, right around the mid-90s, I started to get into it as a flipper. So I would buy cards. The internet was starting to grow, and I would sell on the internet. And I can make some money doing this. And I used to set up at baseball card shows, and before the shows would even open, I'd go through and buy all the cool cards I knew I could get more money for. And then when the card show was coming to an end, I'd go back around to all the dealers there and say, is there anything that you're just tired of looking at that you want to sell at 10% of Beckett, 20% of Beckett? And you wouldn't believe it, man. There were guys that just they didn't know what they had, but they knew they couldn't sell Tim Salmon cards or I'm trying to think of some other players. Maybe Larry Walker.
Because it was a local thing.
Right. So like in Chicago, Michael Jordan cards were king. Scottie Pippen cards were king. But they didn't know what to do with Patrick Ewing or Anthony Hardaway. And so I knew what I could do with them. I went online and I'd sell the cards and I'd make a huge profit. But then really what happened is in the year 2000, I met my wife. And the card collecting stopped, the card investing stopped. We had a son 4 years later, and I really sat on everything that I had. And when the pandemic came, I started to look at the stuff again. And then I started to realize, well, I can still flip. I can still find, collections that are available for sale. And I started buying collections again. Son's going off to college now. I actually dropped him off at college today.
Oh,
and
wow.
and I figured a way to, a side hustle to help pay for some of those bills is to get cards and flip them. And so one of the cards that I actually got graded and that we'll look at today, I got from a flip, and it's going to go for sale. I don't want to keep it. It's not going to be part of my personal collection, but it's going to be a part of somebody else's personal collection. That's a fun feeling. But that's where my card collecting really came from. I'm sorry that I couldn't keep it short.
No, that was great. No, that was fantastic. And it's a lot of everyone's story is similar right now. As guys our age, we had that once you got married, the collection got shoved in the closet for a little while, and then now, like I said, the pandemic and the kids are growing up, and now all of a sudden you're getting back into it. So that makes sense. And today we're playing a brand new game show we call Guess That Grade, and you're going to be our first contestant. Well, actually, I guess you're kind of the contestant. Oh, look at this!
I'm a contestant.
Oh, fantastic.
This is the actual name tag. I was on Wheel of Fortune in the mid-2000s. I know you knew that, but people watching may not know that. This is the actual name tag from Wheel of Fortune. So if I'm on a game show, I got to wear my name tag.
That's pretty amazing. Can we? Is there a way we can find that old episode? You
can break into my house and get a copy, or you can write Sony Pictures Entertainment and try and get a copy. You can try and see it on the Game Show Network on a rerun.
Oh, there you go. Game Show. I didn't know if there was.
I do not. I'm a little anxious, embarrassed, shy about sharing it because I did pretty well.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it was fun. I remember watching it, and when you came in the next day, we had a good time with us. That was good. All right, so here's what we're thinking. Here's how it's going to work. You have 4 cards that you got graded through PSA, and these are all pretty above average cards. You did the higher service level, correct?
Yeah, the regular service level, $50 each.
Oh, the regular. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, for some reason I was thinking it was the higher one. So what we're going to do is we'll show the picture of the card on my section while you talk about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we'll have the readers guess to themselves, come up with what they think that the grade is going to be. And
right. And I want to guess too. I haven't looked at them yet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is a blind reveal. It's just a regular blind reveal, but that's cool because we can both guess, and that'll be super cool.
Now hold on. All right. Do you have the? Hold on. Do you have the? So that's the noise That's the noise I want to hear. I don't want to hear the sad trombone.
All about the hype horn. So we're going to do the hype horn if it's a good grade, if it's what you expect or better. It gets the hype horn. That works. All right. So the first one, let's pull up. It's the 1999 Bowman's Best, right? Oh, he's got to break it out.
I haven't even taken them out of the case yet, or out of the box yet. Here we go. And you can see there are 4 slabs in there.
Nice.
Pretty nice. And I haven't looked at them. I don't know what the grades are, but I can see. Hold on. They are not in the order I sent them in, but I just want to make sure
I don't think they put them in the order when it's coming back.
That you send them in? Okay. Well, I just want to make sure I've got the back sides.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh, yeah.
And I sure enough, 1, 2, 3. Yep, I've got all the back sides. All 4 cards are in a slab.
Good.
So they didn't disqualify any for being too short or being discolored or anything like that.
Exactly. Right.
And I'm ready when you are.
Go ahead.
All right. So the first card
is this is a Bowman's Best, 1999 Bowman's Best. Griffey, this is a refractor, so it's numbered to 400.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is one that I got in one of those lots that I bought. I knew that this card was in the lot. It was one of 2 cards that I won in the lot. The rest were just boxes, partial sets, inserts were in there. And there was some decent stuff in there. There was an Ichiro rookie. I did not get the Ichiro rookie graded. There were not any other crazy good refractors or anything like that. But this was the main card, and then there's just a bunch of smaller cards that I could sell.
So we've shown the front and back here. Now, to be honest, to be fair, we already know the grade because you did happen to see it on your email when you got.
I did. I cheated, but I only cheated on this one.
You didn't. That's not cheating. The top one. Sometimes that happens. But for our readers, so we would have guessed. Looking at this, it is a pretty clean card. Like, look at the front and back. So I would have guessed. I probably would have guessed a 9 on this, but I don't. To me, the pictures aren't like super crisp. So
right. I didn't know I was going to guess the grade or guess that grade.
What did you guess before you sent it?
I thought I would have been disappointed if it were an 8 for sure. I remember taking this card out of the case that it came in and looking it over, and I thought it was in perfect shape. So a 9 I would have lived with. And remember, the whole point of buying this lot is to flip it. So a 9 I knew I could get some nice money for, but a 10 I knew I could get even more. And I really think it did deserve a 10, but I would have been okay with a 9.
All right, so let's see what you got. Let's see hold it up to the camera.
Right, and so this is what we'll do is that I'll hold up the cards just like this. And I know it looks a little grainy. I'm not using my best camera. But has everybody guessed that grade?
They've already guessed. I already confirmed.
All right, here it is.
Fantastic. That is a beaut. That is a beaut. So is this your first 10 that you've gotten graded
from
back?
PSA in the last 20 years? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, that you've graded, got it back. Awesome. That's beautiful, man. That is a nice looking.
Yeah. Card. Well, if anyone's interested, leave a comment or find me on Twitter or something like that, and we'll work on a deal for it. It's a gorgeous card. It really is.
It's what? Yeah, it's a gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous card.
Nice looking card.
Really.
Okay, so we'll pull up next. We'll go with the 1998 SP Authentic Randy Moss. Now, this is a rookie card, and it is also numbered to 2000. Again, this is a really nice card. Like I was looking at this myself. It's with these borderless cards, sometimes it's tough to determine what the centering's like. But it looks good. I mean, it looks really nice. What's your guess? I guess I'm gonna guess a 9 on this. See, I'm a very conservative guesser.
Yes, I try to be conservative too, and to be completely honest, and I'm just looking at the back of the card right now. On one of the corners on the back shows that little dab of white
up by the card number there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right by where it says 18. So that makes me think that it's going to be disqualified from being a gem mint 10. But I've seen 10s that have that little dab of white before on the back, not necessarily on the front. And I remember buying this card in the 90s, late 90s, and I probably only paid a couple $100 for it, thinking it's a mint card.
That was a lot for.
It was. Well, Randy was pretty popular as a rookie
back then. Shoot.
Yeah. Well, Randy was really popular as a rookie. He was the hottest
rookie record for receiving touchdowns.
Football cards. Absolutely. He was awesome, and he had an awesome career. And full disclosure, I've got a 10 already. So I've already got the Randy Moss rookie that I want to keep for my personal collection. This is one that I'm pretty sure I'm going to sell. So I'd like it to be a 9. I'd be okay if it's an 8, but I think it's worthy of a 9.
I don't think you'll be okay if it's an 8.
I'm going to throw the card at my computer if it's not a 9 or an 8, because I'm going to have some serious questions about why. That doesn't mean you'd be okay with it. All right, so let's see it. Okay, here we go. I have not seen this card.
Now, am I doing the sound while it's
I'm going to know from the sound.
Oh, okay, cool.
Are you ready for the reveal?
Yeah.
Has everybody made their guess?
They've all guessed.
Here we go.
Pull up a little closer.
Uh-oh, that's not good. It's an 8. It's an 8.
It is near mint. But that's still pretty.
It is.
His face just completely.
I was hoping for a 9. I really was. I guess that corner just was too much. But I'm looking at the front, dude, and the front looks so good. There's no edge.
I know that face well. Whenever.
Yeah, it's so close to being a 9, and it's an 8.
It's a nice looking card.
It's a really nice looking card. Okay, so
24 years old.
Yeah. For a 24-year-old card where only 2,000 were made, an 8's not bad. So
there you go.
Okay, not a 9. 8s still are going to get some good money. I'm happy with it. So, the next two cards I believe are for my personal collection. I don't think I'm going to sell
none of these. That makes sense.
Okay, one of them I might
stick in the 1998.
Yeah, this is a 1998 SPX Finite Fred Taylor. I can tell you right now, back in the day, I was a Fred Taylor fan. When one of ones were coming up, they really didn't start coming up until like 97-ish in card products.
Know that. That's interesting.
Right. So now in like 98, they started making one-of-ones as part of every parallel insert. And anytime you could get a rookie one-of-one, it was a big deal. So I was always on the lookout for those.
Even
and
now,
I remember pulling together enough money to get this Fred Taylor card back in the day. I think I paid either $620 or $820 for it. We'll call it $620, so it's a little bit less. And I like it because it's a one-of-one.
So you
and
bought
the SPX Finite set
after his rookie season, then?
Either during or after.
Okay. So it's interesting.
Okay.
Here's a little fantasy trivia fact for you. So the fantasy magazines back then, there's a fantasy index magazine, which I love. I still love them. Ian Allen and those guys are awesome. So I have the 1998 Fantasy Index magazine. And in that magazine, the 3 rookies at each position that they say that will lead, they rank the rookies and they mention why. The quarterback, the best quarterback that year was going to be Ryan Leaf. The best running back that year was going to be your boy, Curtis Enos. And the best wide receiver that year was going to be Kevin Dyson. So those are the 3 that they picked. The 3 that were the top rookies that year.
Of course.
Peyton Manning.
No question.
Your boy, Fred Taylor.
Yeah.
And Randy Moss. Like
Randy
3
Moss.
Absolutely insane rookie the careers of those guys. But it's just so funny. Like, you're a fantasy writer, man. It's tough sometimes.
It's hard, so I don't blame them for. I don't think they were taking a chance. I'm sure they really believed that Ryan Leaf was going to be better. Oh God, that's a weird thing to say. And that Kevin Dyson was going to be better. And Curtis Enos was he the first running back taken in that draft? I think he was.
Like the 5th pick overall. Yeah.
4th overall, I think he was.
Pick?
Yeah. And just injuries kind of derailed him in Chicago. Yeah. Anyway, this is a beautiful card.
It's a nice looking card. Now, my grade, if I'm grading, my guess on the grade, this is beautiful. I think it's a 10 on my end. Now you see it closer, and I don't know what the viewers are thinking on this. What was your guess on the grade?
Well, I see like a tiny like white border on a corner of it.
Oh, a little edging.
Yeah, a little edging here. Let me flip it over where I don't see the grade. I'm going to go significantly lower. I'd be happy if it was an 8.
Oh wow! Wow!
Yeah, I didn't think it was the perfect card. If it's a 7 or lower, I don't know what they're thinking, but it's a one-of-one, so it's really
PC card.
I think it's a PC card. What might end up happening is one day I might end up trading it to get a better card that I want for my PC.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So maybe it's not a PC card. But it's one that I've had in my collection for a long time. And here, I'm going to cover it up again. Like one of my favorite parts, these are Spectrum cards. Can you see like the one-of-one on the back?
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
That's awesome. And
yeah,
a lot of people don't.
Again, it's a rookie, so only one in the world.
A lot of people don't send in one-of-ones to get graded because there is no comp. It's the only one.
Right.
So they're like, there's no comparison.
I just wanted it slabbed. And I thought it wasn't good.
That's how I am. I like it protected. I know it will never get in a worse condition than what you have now.
Right. Okay.
All right, so
I do know, by the way, that this part right here is mint. There were no edges on this border around here.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Right, so here we go. Has everybody guessed that grade?
They've guessed that grade.
All right, here we go.
You hold up close. It's good. It's good. It's an 8.
All right, I got my 8. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
No, I'm happy with an 8. And I think it's really good. I don't know if you could tell from the corner, but one of the from this side, this corner, there's just a little tiny like lift to it, I think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's really close. I don't know. I'm happy with it because I said I thought it was an 8.
Well, that's cool.
I'd be really unhappy if it were a 7. So I'm happy with that being an 8. And again, it was just as much about being the slab than anything else.
Sure. All right, now we're moving on to basketball, and we're coming back 2 more years. So this is a 25-plus-year-old card.
Mm-hmm. And it's the Kobe Bryant's best non-refractor rookie card. It's the Topps Chrome. This has been a part of my collection ever since I got it. And here's the thing. You can tell by the picture. Not dead center. Knew for a fact there was no chance of this coming back with a 10 on it. But I really thought the rest of the card was perfect. I thought the centering was off. And I remember looking on eBay, and I saw a lot of 9s that had centering close to what mine had.
It's like,
but I'd said all along,
like 60-40.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's fair to call it 60-40. You know, if you want to call it 62-38.
That's what I almost said that.
Okay, but for the longest time, I thought like, because it was off-centered a little bit, it's probably more of an 8 than a 9. And as you know, when you send cards into PSA, if they value your cards differently, they are going to let you know that, and they're going to upcharge you on the grading. And they did not do that.
In other words, if they thought it was a 10.
Sure, or a 9. I mean, 9s of this go for a lot of money. So way more than 8s. But
so that tips a little bit. But we've also heard that sometimes it goes through without. Like sometimes.
So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I would love it if somehow this card is a 9. But if it's an 8, that's what I'm expecting. If it's a 7, I'll be a little disappointed. But it's from my personal collection.
Yeah.
Of all the cards that we're talking about, this is the one that I'm definitely not interested in selling. My son's a huge basketball fan. He knows how important Kobe Bryant was to the NBA. And I'm sure he'd love to have this card as part of, he's not going to collect. He's not into it like I am. But just to have as a memento, something that's worth something.
Topps Chrome. There's one of the very early Topps Chrome editions. And that's part of it. You can kind of tell the tinting on it is a little different. Like they started.
Yeah, it's a little hulked up. So, but this happens. You can see it. Hold on, let me get it. Sunlight. You can kind of tell here that it's kind of like Kobe's a little green.
Yeah.
Like he had some bad Chinese food or something.
A little bit.
So now he's got to, get well. But this card doesn't get well. It stays green. But I don't know if PSA grades against that, because a lot of cards that they've graded in the past turn green in the case.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
I did some research on it last night actually, and there are people who don't want the Kobe Chrome rookies anymore because they know eventually they're all going to turn green.
Yeah,
and so they're moving on to other Kobe rookies because they care about the look of their cards.
Makes sense. Now this is what card you're keeping though, right?
Yeah, this is one that I don't see myself.
That's a horrible sell job you just did. You're like, people don't even want these cards.
But I want to keep it. I want to keep it. I've had this card for a very long time. So, all right, David, if it's an 8, I'm going to be happy.
I'm guessing an 8. I was going to guess a 9, even with that centering. Like you can tell a little bit better than I can. But even with that centering, I could see that being a 9. It just depends on everything else on it. All right, so let's see what we got.
Everybody ready to guess that grade? Here we go. Uh-oh. It's a 7.
Down, 1 under. But that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Well, I wonder why it got a 7. I mean, the centering is – it's clearly not 50-50. So I'm surprised that it's a 7. I thought it would be an 8 all along. I wonder if it got docked because of the greening. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. It seems like we said, I don't think they do. But I'll tell you what. I got my PSA box back to a week ago, and there was plenty of ones.
Yeah, I watched the video.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. So a lot of times you just don't know. It's a different grader, different, you never know.
Yeah, it's too bad. I wish they were more consistent.
Break that baby out and send it to SGC, but you can. Who knows?
If I thought it had a chance to get a 9, I think I would.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's got a chance to get a 9. So it's okay. It's a card that's been in my collection for a long time. I am not upset about it being a 7. Not that upset. Little upset. But David, you know that I've had cards come back with grades that I just can't understand. I think I can learn to live with all the grades that I got here.
Well, good. That's a good thing because you want to feel a little. I mean, there's some pretty awesome cards in there, man. We're talking that's multiple thousands of dollars in your those 4 cards in your hand right there. So that's pretty awesome, right? All right. So one thing I meant to talk about this before we started doing the game show is we're going to have you, the fantasy football expert, tell us, because you're also a card collector, who you think the top 5 rookies are to collect for last year and this year. Like, in other words, do this year's first, and then we'll go back to 2021.
Okay, and we can do a countdown from 5 to 1.
I love it.
And when it comes to this year's class, I'm going to give this overarching statement: I wouldn't invest in any of them.
Wow.
So you can. I'm happy to make a top 5 list, and I did make a top 5 list, but I don't know if there is a rookie in this class that's going to be one that a ton of collectors are going to be going nuts for. There isn't a Brady, there isn't a Kobe, there isn't a LeBron, there isn't that superstar in the 2022 class, in my opinion, that is going to make you rich. Okay, you buy their rookie cards now, and then 20 years from now, you're getting them graded, and PSA is sending them back a 7 when you thought it would be an 8, or a 9 when you thought it'd be a 10, and then you go and you flip the cards, and you pay for a year of tuition for your kid. That's not. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's anybody in this class, but there are some players that I think whose values will go up from where they are now, and maybe by the time a year from now to 10 years from now, their value could be higher than what you paid. You're just not going to be able to retire off of it if you get.
So who we like?
Okay, so my number 5 is Garrett Wilson with the Jets. This one is specifically a play on Garrett Wilson's talent. I think he's a superior wide receiver. He's just kind of saddled on a rough team right now. I'm not the biggest Zach Wilson fan as far as fantasy goes, which means I can't say that I think he's going to be a great NFL quarterback someday. But I do think Garrett Wilson will eventually have the chance to be with a good NFL quarterback, and you will see him have amazing numbers. And he still might have good numbers in New York, but I think it's going to be a little while before we see that.
Wide receivers are tough in collecting to begin with. Like Jamar Chase was obviously he was an outlier. But the past 10 years, not a ton of receivers that you're loading up on in collections.
Sure,
so number 4? Go ahead.
But I'm going to tell you that I've got a lot of receivers in this year's class, just because I also feel like
there was, right?
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, the quarterbacks are just okay, but we'll get to. There is one on my list, and we'll get to it. And the running backs are good for fantasy, but their shelf life is short. And there's a reason why Peyton Manning and Randy Moss rookies are going for so much, but Fred Taylor rookies not so much.
That's a good point.
So you have to be. He
had a long career.
He did, but you've got to be Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton. You can name a running back. You guys know how it goes.
All right, so let's hear number 4.
Number 4 is Sky Moore with the Chiefs, and this is kind of the flip side of Garrett Wilson. He's talented. He's a great receiver, but he does have a quarterback, and he's going to catch passes from Patrick Mahomes for at least the first 4 years of his career. Could be his entire career. I'm pretty confident that he'll have some really good years, and he'll have some value down the line. And certainly Chiefs fans will remember Sky Moore fondly. And I think a lot of people that do cards will look at Sky Moore down the line and say, okay, that was a good receiver for Kansas City.
Amazing.
So and they'll say this, you know what they'll say, guys? This is the guy who replaced Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Makes sense. And then, so number 3?
Number 3 is Chris Olave. I really liked Olave's game when he was coming out of Ohio State. He's more of a deep ball receiver, definitely more of a finesse receiver. Although, when you're young and skinny, you're not going to be great playing physical when you're a wide receiver, but you can put on muscle along the way, and he could certainly do that. And think about the history of New Orleans Saints quarterbacks. If there's one thing we know about the Saints and the history, the lineage of their quarterbacks, they've got guys with a strong arm. You're not going to see anybody with a noodle arm in New Orleans unless somebody gets hurt or unless it's Drew Brees at the end of his career. So I think Chris Olave will have good quarterbacks to catch passes from over the course of his career. And also, that the Ohio State fan base is going to be very, very interested in Olave cards. And if he's successful in New Orleans, they're going to pick up their cards. And the fans are rabid in New Orleans about their Saints. So they're also going to want to pick up cards of Chris Olave.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, number 2.
Okay. It's almost a tie for number 1 between these two, and they're on the same team. So if you don't mind, David, I'm going to lump them together.
I like
Kenny Pickett, and George Pickens are going to be the 1 and 1A on my list of 2022 rookies. And this one actually stems from a personal experience I had in Pittsburgh last weekend. I was at their first preseason game, literally the first game that these two guys were playing in. George Pickens was awesome. You'll remember the touchdown he had from Mason Rudolph. He was a great talent at Georgia. I think he's going to be a really good wide receiver for the Steelers and potentially the best wide receiver in this entire class.
Wow.
So I think he's got a lot of great potential. My name's I think he's got a lot of great potential to matter in fantasy for a long time and in Steelers history for a long time. So I'm kind of thinking about trying to pick up a couple of George Pickens rookies myself. As for Kenny Pickett, I told you I was at that game. I've never seen a preseason game as loud and as boisterous as this one. The people in Pittsburgh love Kenny Pickett.
That's pretty cool.
It's real close to how much they loved Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, wow.
And so if Pickett ends up being a good quarterback for Pittsburgh for a long time, I'm not talking about a dude who fizzles out after 3 years and starts working on their pre and post game show. I'm saying he's got a good, solid career, and I think Steelers fans are going to collect Kenny Pickett rookies and want them in bulk because he went to Pitt, now he's playing in Pittsburgh, and he's not a bad guy, not a bad quarterback. So I think getting some of his cards, especially when he's not the most popular guy, Pickens is going to be popular, but Pickett might not be. So there's a window here for people who collect to sit on some Kenny Pickett cards.
Yeah, so it's interesting, too, because when you talk about breaks and people joining breaks and pick your team breaks, getting the Steelers, because they have a rookie quarterback, that's actually one that's desirable. And then you add in, seems like that's going to be a nice team to get now, especially according to what you're kind of saying there. That's a nice team to jump onto, especially now when prices are probably low overall on when those cards come out.
Exactly.
But I did say don't invest crazy in this rookie class, and I get that. That makes sense. All right, so quickly then, the top 5 from last year.
And again, no running backs in this group, but there are 2 wide receivers, and we start at 5 with Jalen Waddle. Love the talent. Think he's going to be in Miami for a long time. And I think he's going to end up putting up some good numbers and being somebody that people remember. So, and he went to Bama. Usually those guys pan out fairly well. Waddle is somebody, his cards are already pretty valuable. In fact, all 5 of these guys, their cards are pretty popular. Yeah. But Waddle's someone who I think could be worth spending on right now. Number 4 is Justin Fields. And I remember loving the talent, hating the landing spot. And I'm hoping that Chicago rights the ship next year for Justin Fields and they surround him with some really good talent so that he gets to meet his upside. We've seen in the past.
So even saying
I used to be a Bears fan. I'm not a Bears fan anymore. Fun fact. I gave it up, David. They made me very frustrated. About a decade ago when I found myself rooting for the Packers in Super Bowl 45.
Wow. I can't even. Well, I can't stand
so I gave him
as you know. So that's actually, for me, that's a good thing.
Right. And, I it's not that I can't stand the Bears. I can't root for them anymore. I haven't worn a Bears jersey for a while. And I'm wearing a shirt that looks like it's a Bears shirt, but it's not. Crazy. It's actually a Kings Classic fantasy football shirt. It's a league that I'm in. But I think Justin Fields does have some great potential to be remembered and to be a great quarterback in the NFL. But I think Trey Lance has more potential. And great. I think he's got a greater shot to do it in San Francisco. And so he's 3 on the countdown. So Trey Lance is 3, Fields is 4, Jalen Waddle's 5. I bet you could guess who number 2 and number 1 are.
Well, I can. My guess, though, is for me, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have the better overall career, in my opinion, than Mac Jones. But so I don't know where you're going to go with which one of those 2 guys.
Well, it's actually not Mac Jones. I've got Jamar Chase.
Oh, Jamar Chase.
Mac Jones did not make my top 5.
Wow.
I think he'll be a little overshadowed by Brady, and I'm just not sure if he's going to be a long-term winner. He might be 6 for me on this list.
Yeah.
But he's not number 2 and he's not number 1. I would rather invest in Jamar Chase, who I just think is a superior talent at wide receiver. People are taking him in the first round of fantasy drafts this year. I think it's for a good reason. He's going to be catching passes
with that young quarterback.
They were teammates in college. They're best friends. They go shopping together. It's true. So I think that Jamar Chase is a good investment as well. I think he's got that type of Randy Moss trajectory where his rookie cards, the ones that aren't 1 of 1s or out of 10 or whatever, are going to go for a couple $1,000 someday when they're in gem mint condition. And then number 1 is Trevor Lawrence. I think it's pretty obvious. And I like Lawrence so much, David, that I've bought 2 boxes of. It was like a Panini Blaster thing. It's the first time I've bought boxes in 20 years, and I'm sitting on them. I'm not going to open them. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a great quarterback. I think he's going to win a Super Bowl for Jacksonville, and I think he's going to be a valuable asset in the sports card world. So if you're looking to sink some money into somebody who's, I don't think he's as popular as Lansing Fields right now in collecting, but yeah, I think his cards.
It's a weird thing because there's not a lot of hype around them, so they're kind of like a buried. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not.
Sure.
You know, if it was Pittsburgh or if it was Chicago or Kansas City, like the fan bases alone that makes that a super popular. But the fact that he's buried down there bodes well for people that want to invest right now, like you're saying. And like you said, buy and stash. Those 5 quarterbacks in that rookie class, like, man,
one of them's gonna hit.
Yeah, so if any of them hit, that's nice. Which is the opposite of 2022, like just like you said, not one to buy and stash probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on and doing this. This was a lot of fun. I definitely want to have you back on so we can talk more about your background, and I want to see more of your collection. I want to get a little more deeper into what you got going on there. But I very much appreciate you coming on with us. I appreciate it, man.
It's my pleasure. Again, if you're interested in some of the cards that you saw today, reach out to me and we'll see if we can work out something. You know, I'm not going to rip you off because I really do care about my reputation, not just when it comes to giving fantasy advice, but just overall. I don't want to be a jerk. So I'm happy to make sure that our deals are great and you know what type of card you're going to get from me because you saw it on this video.
Hobby is littered with bad guys.
I know, it's sad.
Mostly good guys. It really is.
I hope so.
Unfortunately, the stories you hear, they're bad. You know, it's because there are bad guys. You know, but
right.
There's way more.
We need more good stories. We need more good stories, Dave. Maybe you could find some of those. And one last thing, I've got 42 more cards coming from PSA. 42. So if you want to do more of Guess the Grade,
I love it.
We can make it happen again. I don't know if you allow return contestants on GTG.
You're the first.
But if you do,
you pretty much now you're just a co-host at this point. So that's awesome. All right. Well,
but I'm happy to come back and do it again. This was a lot of fun. This was a great way for me to reveal the cards to myself and not to peek and look ahead like I've done before. A lot of cards coming soon, so we can do this again.
That sounds good. Well, for the viewers out there, make sure you comment. Let us know what you thought of this, if we should do it a little differently. Hit like, hit subscribe, and whatever you do, make sure you have a
happy hobby.
Nice.